So setting goals, right? Has anybody ever set goals? Okay? So in some shape or form, we've all set some goals at some point, right? So have we kind of lost interest in those goals and just kind of, maybe they just kind of didn't go anywhere? I think that happens a lot to us, right? So let's just go over setting goals for the new year and just talk about, you know, the reasons to set them, the reasons to set goals for life. The basic goal formula would be to set the goal, okay, to have a plan, actually have a plan of accomplishing the goal, and then acting on that plan, okay? You got to get it done. You've got to go out there and do a lot of times it's some hard work. And that might be one reason why we kind of, you know, tail off on it. You know, this is just too much work to accomplish this goal. But those are the things that lead to the success of it. But like I said, let's talk a little bit at the beginning about the psychology of setting goals. One thing is to keep in mind, since goals take place in the future, goals with goals also by default become psychologically and motivationally future-oriented individuals. So they're not just living in the present, we're living, you know, in the future. So we're seeing what we can accomplish. So the power to conceive and achieve the goal. There's a book by James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. And one thing he says is the power of thought. We ourselves are makers of ourselves by virtue of the thoughts that we choose and the thoughts that we encourage. So that's who we become. So a lot of it starts up here. A lot of it starts in our head. Another old saying is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. His character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. So all these things that we choose to entertain and do and think about is kind of who we are. So what power does our mind have and our thoughts when setting and achieving goals?
Motivation.
Okay. Our thoughts, our mind can give us the motivation. What else?
Well, of course, when you have a positive thought, you keep pushing forward on the positive thought. If you have that negative thought, it still pushes out a negative thought. So it's to overcome your negative and just put out positive thoughts.
Right.
For it to manifest your dreams and goals.
Some of the reading that go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, you know, your thoughts, it creates a path, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like a target, you have to, you know, without it,
yeah, depending on what the thoughts are, depends on what the path and what the target. It's been said, you know, in some of the books that I've read that if you think about getting sick all the time and you just I know I'm going to get the flu this year. You're probably going to get sick, you know, and that's just the way the mind works. So we need to obviously be thinking of the positive things. So on the power of mind, before a goal can be achieved, we must believe we can accomplish it, right? So we've got to have that complete belief first. Got to believe, okay, this is my goal. It's obtainable, it's reachable, but it's going to stretch me at the same time. And you've got to believe that this is really what I want, and I know I can do it. I know I can accomplish it. So every thought we allow to seed and take root in our mind produces its own, blossoming into act and bears its own opportunity. So basically what that's saying is, a lot of times you have these things that happen around you, right? Everybody has all these things going on. But if you haven't set the goal and you haven't set that belief in it, you might not see these opportunities that are happening around you. But after you've set the goal, you might say, oh, that's a great opportunity. That'll help me reach my goal. So it appears that all these things are coming in to help you achieve the goal. They may have already been there, You just didn't see them before. So the moral is only big thinkers accomplish big things. Believe that? If you can't, Bill Gates didn't just, he wasn't a small thinker. Steve Jobs wasn't a small thinker. They were big thinkers. So what we tell our mind that we are is what we become. So we got to have this vision of who we want to be.
Right.
So, having said that, why do most people not set goals?
Because they don't achieve them.
They don't achieve them?
Or they're afraid.
Or afraid.
Disappointment.
What's that?
You're afraid to not achieve them.
Afraid to not achieve
Yeah,
them?
afraid of failure.
Afraid of failure? Exactly. So, in fact, in one of Zig Ziglar's books, he says the number one reason people don't set goals is afraid of failure. Number two reason is they don't think they deserve it.
Mhm.
You ever think about that?
Mhm.
I've thought about goals before, and I think, well, do I really need all that? Do I really need that? I'm comfortable, I'm happy, And so sometimes they just, feel like they don't deserve it. Zig Ziglar says in one of his talks, he says, I believe that God made the diamonds for his folks and not necessarily Satan's folks. So as long as we don't let money consume us, and be like the only thing that we're concentrating on. There's also the saying, if you help enough other people get what they want, you can have everything you want. So is that true with real estate?
Yes.
So in real estate, if you help enough people find the home that they're really looking for, I think the home of their dreams is a little, overused, but the home that they're looking for, that they can raise their family and do whatever it is they need to do. If you help enough people do that, that's going to help you, right? So if you help enough other people get what they want, you can get everything you want. So we should welcome failure, right? Should we? Should we welcome failure? Not be afraid of it and welcome it. Okay? So here's a light bulb. Thomas Edison. Everybody's heard this story maybe? So Thomas Edison was interviewed by a reporter, young reporter, and he said, don't you feel like a failure? I mean, you've tried 9,000 times to create a light bulb and you haven't done it. Don't you feel like a failure? And he says, young man, why should I feel like a failure? Why would I ever give up? I now know definitely 9,000 ways not to make a light bulb, right? So, and then shortly thereafter, after 10,000 attempts, we invented the light bulb, okay? So, if you set a goal and it's just not working, and you can identify why, okay? So that didn't work. So now what else can I do? What can I do to make my goal work for me? So why must we set goals? Yale University, they did a study in 1953. Some of you may have heard this, but it was a graduating senior class, and they did a study and they asked them who had set their goals, okay? There was only 3% that had clearly defined, written out goals that had committed to basically read them every day, to study their goals, to make an action plan, and develop that. There's only 3%, okay? And then 20 years later, they did another study of that same graduating class, every one of them, and they found that the 3% that still had those clearly defined goals that accomplished more than the whole 97% combined. Okay?
Mhm.
So that's reason enough, right? So let's look at the plan. First off, a goal must be specific. Okay? You don't want it to be general. You don't want to say, I want to make a lot of money. You got to get specific. You don't want to say, I want to get married this year. Well, get some specifics. For a goal to be effective, also, it must affect change. Okay? Secondly, clearly define the objectives and the obstacles, the things that can get in the way. So you've got to know that going into it. What can get in my way? Okay, so for instance, I've hiked the Grand Canyon twice. I've hiked Havasu High 4 times, which is another end of the Grand Canyon. So do I need to have, is there going to be some obstacles in my way of doing that? Do I need to create a plan? Do I need to do some smaller hikes? You know, created some smaller hikes, go to the gym, get in shape, right? So is there some obstacles there? Getting up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym, you know, might be an obstacle. So how can I overcome those? So, you know, think of all those in your plan. Thirdly, stay motivated by reading inspirational books, audio tapes, and personal affirmations. This is what the 3% of the Harvard class did. They didn't just set goals that one day and then they accomplished more. They read them, they stayed inspired, they, you know, did all these other things to help stay motivated. And that's what we have to do. And that's why when we talked about in the very beginning, it's like, well, why do goals kind of fall apart sometimes? It's because we don't keep them in the forefront. We don't keep inspired. And then there's the action, right? So one of the things that they talk about in the book called Success Principles is the Power of 5, and how the Power of 5 can add up. If we pick 5 things to reach our goal every day and do them, 5 things, just that Power of 5, it keeps adding up. It gets us closer and closer to reaching that goal. So if you can do that, do 5 things every day. So has anybody ever heard of the processionary caterpillar? Nobody's ever heard of it? So a processionary caterpillar, actually what they do is they get in a line and they follow each other. So the leader's the only one that they're relying on to get them where they need to go. And everybody else follows the next person, the next caterpillar behind them. In John Henry Fondray, a French naturalist, did a study of a processionary caterpillar. What he did is he lined them up around a flower pot, just all the way around, right? And then he put the food of the processionary caterpillar, which is pine needles, right in the center of the flower pot. And they went round and round and round and round and round for 7 days, 24 hours a day for 7 days, and literally dropped dead of starvation. Okay? So the moral of the story is that they confused activity with accomplishment, right? They were busy. They were going round and round and round, but they didn't accomplish anything. They weren't able to sustain themselves, sustain life. So how often do we do that?
All the time.
Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And then at the end of the month, it's just like, I haven't done a sell. Boy, I was busy. So we've got to, in our action plan, we've got to figure out the specifics, the things that are going to make us money. We've got to, not, am I busy, but am I doing the things that are going to reach my goals? Okay. So just think about that. You can also think about, for instance, what was his name? Let's see, I have it written down. Edmund Hillary. Does anybody know who Edmund Hillary is?
Was he a North Pole or South Pole guy? One of
The
those?
first man to ever climb Mount Everest.
Oh, Mount Everest, that's it.
Yes. So, so do you think Edmund Hillary, when he was interviewed by a reporter, do you think, he said, hey, how did you climb Mount Everest? Did he say, I was just out walking around, saw this big mountain, thought, yeah, that looks like a challenge. No, he prepared for it, right? He set a goal, and he climbed a lot of smaller mountains in order to reach that goal. So same thing with, you can think of the most successful person in a corporation. And, you ask him, he say, well, I just started showing up for work. They just kept promoting me. He had a specific goal, right? He knew what he wanted, and he set goals. Dr. Joyce Brothers said that success is a state of mind, if you want success, start thinking of yourself as a success. Okay? Your mind will help create the environment, opportunities, situations necessary to make them happen if you're willing to put forth the effort. Okay? So it's a state of mind. Visualize, actually visualize who it is that you're wanting to be and the success you're wanting. So right now I'm just going to play this little video of just some little inspirations, and then we're going to go over these worksheets here in a second. All right, I'm going to pass these out. Okay, so the objective today isn't to set any goals, but it's just to kind of get you in that frame of mind and help you get going on. The first page here is just your plan. This is just something to help you develop your plan. The suggestion is to have at least a 10-year plan. One book I read talked about first off, really contemplating and doing some meditation on what your higher purpose is. Just in general, your life. What's my higher purpose? What's my higher purpose? And then everything, all your goals should be to funnel into that higher purpose that you feel. But so look at your 10-year plan. Look 10 years ahead of time. And then on your 10-year planning guide, divide your life up from work, home, and social life. Get clear, concise answers to these questions. What do I want to accomplish with my life? What do I want to be? And what does it take to satisfy me? Okay? And then so you've got your work profession category. And then it says to answer these questions. What income level do I want to obtain? What level of responsibility do I seek? How much authority do I want to command? And what prestige do I want to obtain from my work? So just different things to ask yourself to help you set those goals. Family life. What standard of living do I want to obtain for my family and myself? What kind of home do I want to live in? What kind of vacations do I want to take? What kind of financial support do I want for my children? Do I want to get them college funds? Whatever it may be. And then your social. aspect. You know, what kind of friends do I want to have? You know, what kind